You are watching
Ask the Instructor. Absorb the knowledge. Become the expert.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Chrismo. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time here. Hold on, the camera doesn't know which John Chrismo to focus on today. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. And don't let the name fool you if you're just tuning in today. We've had students from over 40 countries now worldwide. We've helped tens of thousands of people start their Florida real estate careers, take their real estate career to the next level, whether that's for simple continuing education requirements or getting your broker license or the information we're here to share with you every Wednesday and Friday. So if you're not yet subscribed to our information, you need to get subscribed. Here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to text the word success, SUCCESS, to 813-333-2676. You text the word success to 813-333-2676. That's going to subscribe you to our Success Center updates. So that includes the videos like we're doing today. And what we're talking about today specifically is how to get your Florida real estate license in the most expedited, express way possible. Because this is a process that we have a saying here, we like to say time kills all deals. And there's like this double-edged sword that when you go to get your real estate license, you've got like these 2-year windows for your certificate, for your application. And if you wait 2 years, if you, for lack of a better term, drag this out across 2 years, you're making this so much more difficult than it needs to be. The more time you add to your licensing process, the more difficult you're making your licensing process. Let's put that up here. Remember, text success to 813-333-2676. We'll text you a message whenever it is that we're going live. This Friday, we've got another live stream we're doing. We're talking about the next steps after you get your license for joining a broker, completing your post-licensing, other renewal requirements, the realtors, whether you want to do referral real estate. So that's another can't miss episode, especially if you're one of our new students who just signed up with some of the specials we've been running. We actually do have a special right now at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. This is our last day of November, a sale we've got going on right now. If you have any questions for one of our advisors, 813-333-2676. You could call or text us at that number to reach one of our advisors confidentially. Or again, if you want to get subscribed for the updates, text the word success to 813-333-2676. But here's what I wanted to write down. The longer it takes to get your real estate license, the more difficult it will be. So why did I want to take the time to write that all out? Because this is important. This is probably the single thing that if you talk to anybody who says it was difficult or it was hard or it took forever to get their real estate license, I could guarantee you that we could look back on this and we could point out things that they did that caused this process to take longer than it should have. And when you take longer than you should with this process, you make it exponentially more difficult to complete. Now, one example here, we do give you 1-year access for our online courses. For any of our FREC required courses, we give you 1-year access to that because these are some lengthy courses, but honestly, you can complete the material in less than a week. We have in-person classes that are 7 days straight, and yes, they're all day, but you could make it through this entire curriculum in 1 week's time. And when you're going through that express the fastest way possible, whether you're doing this at your own pace or you're in one of the instructor-led classes here, those faster paced classes, those are great because it creates little opportunity for you to lose the information. But most people don't go right from taking the class to go right into taking the exam. Most people are going to do some studying. That's going to be part of their plan. Now, if you're doing a longer class, let's say you're taking 2 weeks, or you're taking maybe a month to complete this. Again, if you're looking for the fastest, let's do that. Let's put this up here for course, then we'll talk about the fingerprinting and the application and scheduling your state exam. We're going to cover that all today. And one thing I do want to point out here is we are live. let me make sure we've got Facebook and YouTube loaded up here as well. So if you have any questions about the licensing process, I'm going to be watching these chats live. We have the chat going on at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Let me get that one up here. Drop your questions in. There we go. Got the YouTubes going. Along with the link over there on YouTube to get to the Tampa School page, in case you're tuning in there. Welcoming everyone over on Facebook as well. And again, you have any questions, drop those in the chat here. I'm going to try to keep these live and loaded up so we get your questions answered live here. Appreciate everyone tuning in live. I know a lot of you are going to be watching the replay of this, and that's why one other thing I'll point out here, and even if you're tuning in live, you might want to take down this number here so you could speak to one of our advisors more confidentially, 813-333-2676, because there might be some questions you don't feel comfortable asking in an online public chat, but there may be some that you are, so feel free to drop those chat questions in. We'll be chatting with you live today. Yeah, we're going to talk about how long it takes to get cleared for completing the application process. Short answer, maximum of 90 days, but it's typically faster than that. But let's talk about the course, because that's what you can control probably the most, your content. The things that are outside of your control the most is how long it's going to take for the state to actually approve your license. But there are some tricks and secrets that we have to help get this process lined up as much as possible. But anyways, so if you're looking for, so you've got to complete this course 1. That's the actual official name for it, course 1. You'll often see it marketed as pre-licensing, 63 hours, even though it's not an actual 63 hours, even if you're doing an instructor-led format, that it does have a degree of timeness to it. We have a text-based program online, completely untimed. It's all at your own pace, but then we also have instructor-led formats. But those instructor-led formats are not a full 63 hours because the FREC doesn't require a full 63 hours. It's a big, complicated thing to explain, which call or text us any questions you have, 813-333-2676 here. It's basically they look at hours as 50 minutes instead of 60 minutes. So some math, this ends up being less than 63 hours. Of actual hours. So this isn't like taking 63 college credit hours, which, I mean, that's like 2 years in college. I think you need to get like 60 college credit hours. This is like a 1 week thing if you're trying to do the fastest. So the fastest of the instructor-led schedules is going to be 7 days. 7 days, that's usually a Monday through Sunday. We also have 8-day programs that are spread out across 2 weeks, Monday through Thursday. Those are your fastest options. This is the 7 days straight. This is 2 weeks. 8 days across 2 weeks. But either way, 2 weeks. And this, let's just compare these two formats if you're trying to do the fastest. The 7 days straight is going to look like this on a calendar. Let's put this up here. And And if you're doing an online program that's at your own pace, whether it's the text-based or video-based, instructor-led, whatever it may be, when it's on your schedule, you can mimic and mirror these same formats and schedules as much as you can or as you want to maybe keep yourself more on track. So the 7-day schedule, it's literally all day, and I think you're going from like 9, let's call it 9 to 6. I don't know if that's, we have lots of schedules on the website. If you have any questions about our schedules, one more time, that phone number is 813-333-2676. If you have any questions about particular schedules or what classes we've got coming up, anything like that. But let's say this is a 9 to 6 format. And again, this is across 7 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 days that you're taking class all day straight with no break in between. So if you're looking for the fastest way to get this done, you're not going to find a faster format than this. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is a challenging format because it will require you to go all in for a week. I mean, that means dropping basically everything it is that you're doing for 1 week straight, which maybe you get vacation time or anything like that. But in most cases, you're not going to complete the entire licensing process in 1 week. Like the question we got already online there about the about how long the application process takes. I mean, you're usually going to be looking at least 30 days or so to be able to go from not having a license and not doing anything to being able to get a real estate license. And that's probably the fastest, even if you did the 7-day class, between getting fingerprinted, getting your application submitted, scheduling your exam and passing that. Let's say you do it on the first try, probably about 30 days. Maybe you get it done faster than that, but I know we've got reviews on our website that I've seen of people doing this in a 30-day time span. If you've done it faster than that, let us know. How fast did you complete the Florida Real Estate License Challenge? Because that's really kind of like what this is here. It's a challenge of several steps, information that you've got to some degree master to be able to pass 2 different exams. And you're going to learn all that information in this course. But the question is, are you going to remember that information for the exams? And so we'll talk a little bit today about studying, how we recommend going through that as well. But when it comes to studying, this holds true again. The longer it takes to get your real estate license, the more difficult it will be. It will become significantly more difficult to get your license the longer you take to get your real estate license. So then why wouldn't you want to do the 7-day course? Well, let's talk about how the 8-day works, and we'll compare the two. And then we also have evening classes that spread out all the way across 2 months. We have weekend classes, we have mornings, we have afternoons, we have tons of different schedules. Again, if you have any questions about class schedules we've got coming up, reach out to one of our advisors confidentially, of course, 813-333-2676. And yes, there is a review class that we actually have an on-demand weekend prep class that allows you to basically go through the information for 180 days as much as you need to repeat as much as you need to, because that's where, when we talk about reviewing, it's no longer about new information. These 7 or 8 days are going to be packed with new information, and there is a little bit of review at the end, and typically, especially in the instructor-led classes, the instructor will be bringing up little things here and there that reference back to different parts that have already been covered throughout the course. There's all kinds of little knowledge checkpoints and whatnot. But we'll talk about the plan for studying, because again, that's part of what you can most significantly control to expedite this licensing process. And there is absolutely a wrong way to study. Doesn't matter what your learning style may be, there are some methods of studying that are not correct for anybody or anybody's learning style, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. Not maybe intentional misinformation, but people that don't have the data that we have after helping tens of thousands of people going through the licensing process and constantly working towards building efficiency in that process. Most real estate schools now are owned by national equity fund managed conglomerate real estate schools. They provide national programs. We're one of the last independent real estate schools and probably the biggest independent real estate school in Florida at this point here. And there's a lot of technology and platforms that we provide, so you still get that small school type of experience with advisors you could reach at a local number. We have a toll-free number as well. No one really ever calls that one, because people prefer to reach out directly to our advisors. But anyways, back to the classes here. So let's say you're on the 8-day format. So the same Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What you're going to be doing basically is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we do have some variations of these ones occasionally as well. Again, 813-333-2676 if you want to see any of the different schedules. Let's say this one's like 9 to 4. But you're doing that for basically a block now of 2 weeks. So it's 8 days spread out across 2 weeks rather than 7 days straight. So what that does there is that creates a lot of opportunity right here to study between the class. And that would be what I would recommend, is trying to study while you're in the class. And the schedule that makes that the most difficult is the 7-day format. Now, that's not to say you can't do it. Just understand that you're signing up for the biggest challenge it is that we've got. But we have lots of people that are very successful with this format, and the reason is because you're taking time out of the equation. The longer you take to go through the licensing process, the more difficult it will become. Now, if you're in the 7-day class here, you go into study mode right as soon as you're finishing the class, if you haven't shifted into study mode right from the beginning here. Because you still should have time to study in the mornings and in the evenings. And same thing over here. You don't want to just wait until the weekend to study. You should be studying before your class, and you should be studying after class. And you should also be studying on the weekends. Because if you don't use it, what's the rest of this one here? If you don't use it, you lose it. And you don't want to lose this information. Talk to anyone who already has their real estate license and try to quiz them on some of this information from your pre-licensing course. It's always fun. Now, as a real estate instructor, a broker, especially as a real estate instructor, I'm required to keep up on this information. So I always love messing with realtors when it's clear that they've forgotten a lot of the basics. And the thing is, you don't need to always know all the things you're taught in your pre-licensing for your actual real estate career. Your post-licensing course is actually going to contain much more information that's relevant to actually practicing real estate and making money with your real estate license. So a lot of people will approach pre-licensing in that way, that, oh, I need to memorize all the stuff in this book here because I want to take my career seriously. And look, I'm all for that. I'm all for taking this career seriously. I'm all for going the extra mile. But there's a wrong way to study, and not just a wrong way to study information to pass your exam, but a wrong way to study information to grow your business. And the biggest way to do it wrong is studying the wrong information. The information you need to pass your exam is important to pass your exam, and especially when it comes to laws that you'll actually encounter, to keep yourself from losing your real estate license or getting in trouble with the Florida Real Estate Commission. But simply knowing how not to get yourself in trouble, how not to get your license suspended, what you can and cannot do, doesn't necessarily translate to knowing how to run a successful real estate business. And a lot of brokers will tell you that they've got the complete solution, the complete package, they've got everything you need to be successful. But if you don't even know the basics and fundamentals of a real estate business, and you might think you do because of pre-licensing, you learn a lot, but you're not learning business concepts in pre-licensing. That's more what you're going to be learning in the post-licensing course. So that's something we'll be talking more about on Friday this week. Again, make sure you text the word SUCCESS to 813-333-2676, because we'll be covering on this Friday the next steps after you've obtained your real estate license. One of those things is post-licensing. So going back to pre-licensing here, you don't want to take longer. And if you're trying to memorize everything, that guarantees this is going to take longer. And when you make it take longer, it's going to be more difficult. That's why I would encourage you to get the exam prep tools in addition to your course. Now, the exam prep tools are not required, The Florida Real Estate Commission doesn't require that you purchase exam prep. The Florida Real Estate Commission doesn't care whether you pass the exam or not. As a matter of fact, they actually, this isn't official, but they basically maintain a 50% pass rate. They modify the question bank to maintain a 50% pass rate statewide on the state exam. And so if you want to be part of the passing 50%, you don't have to know everything in the course. You don't have to be the best real estate agent. You don't even have a license yet, so you don't even know how to be a real estate agent. It's not about any of that. It's about knowing certain key points that are covered in this course. And so the exam prep, because that's not a requirement of the FREC that you have to buy this, we have freedom to be able to design those curriculums that are specific to what's important for your exam. And there's a lot of stuff you'll see in that exam prep that isn't covered, that was covered in your pre-licensing course. Not to say that wouldn't be on your exam, because technically anything from your course could be on your exam, but there's certain topics that the Florida Real Estate Commission is very concerned with you knowing and understanding. You know, one of the most important things I could share with you right now is escrow. As it relates to escrow, I shouldn't say you want to know everything, but what's in our courses, that's one of the topics, one of the few topics where you probably want to know pretty much everything as it relates to escrow. And there's a few other topics like that throughout the course, and that's why you'll see it in tools like our question simulator, a lot of repetition. Our MP3 auto review is condensed down to 5 hours specifically so you can get the repetition, because that's what it becomes about once you're beyond learning the information. So here, you're learning a little bit of review, but there's only so much you could do while you're actually learning the information. And so this course is only required to be so many hours. We're going to fill that with all the information that is necessary so you can get your requirement, but then to make sure you know this stuff and you don't have to second guess on whether or not you're going to be able to pass your exam, that's where our exam prep comes in. I would recommend it is that you add that. We actually have a huge sale going on right now. If you go to tsre.us/sale, you could get the special November pricing that we've got. This is the last day of November. We'll go to tsre.us to see the current sale if you're watching the recording of this in the future. I'd imagine there's a lot of people that are going to be watching this recording maybe years from now trying to speed up this licensing process. This is a pretty timeless topic here. Right now, being in December that we're actually recording this here, this is one of the best times to move through this licensing process as well, because everyone's distracted with the holidays. No, I shouldn't say nobody, but there's significantly less people right now that are doing applications with the state, so your processing time is going to be faster. Like I said earlier, it could take up to 90 days to get your application approved. Usually it's under 30. Right now it might even be faster than that because there's not as many people this time of year getting a real estate license. Now come January, for anyone that's watching this right now in January, I'm sorry, but this is one of the busiest months of the year. So this is where you're going to expect the longest delays in going through the application process. So if you're already signed up for a course, we'll talk about the fingerprinting and application. You can even do that ahead of time, because if you do your fingerprints and application ahead of time, you'll be ready to basically schedule your exam whenever you want to schedule. You don't have to sit around waiting, sitting on your hands for the Florida Real Estate Commission to approve you. So we've got all the information again on that. If you want any specific direction or questions, 813-333-2676. But whatever format you take, whether it's the 7 days, the 8 days, we have weekends. And weekends, it's just Saturdays and Sundays. Now, here's the thing about the weekend classes being Saturday and Sunday. Those go about 4 weeks. It's an all-day class. It's kind of like this year, but spread out across 4 weekends. So typically there's a month. I actually think we even have a 3-weekend one coming up. It's a little bit longer days, a little bit more like this 7 day. It's actually 6 days when you're doing it in 3 weekends. So I think those go from like 8 a.m. to like 7 or something like that. It's a longer day, but now you're taking time out of the equation. And you have all week between your classes to study. And you might say, well, John, I've got kids, I've got a job, I've got this, I've got that, I've got pets, I've got an aunt, I've got an uncle, I've got a parent, I've got a grandparent, I've got a kid, I've got a job, I've got a part-time job, I've got a sprinkler that broke, I've got whatever it is that goes on here. Check this out. Oh, I don't have my AirPods with me today. If I had my AirPods, I would just pop in my AirPods and I'd go in on my phone. I'd log in to my Tampa School of Real Estate Learning portal. And then I would listen to the MP3. And And whenever I can, if all you can do is listen to this while you sleep, do that. But get the repetition in, listening to those key points. So that MP3 is essential, and that would be my #1 prescription for you between any days that you have from finishing this course to taking your state exam. You want to spend every single day listening to that MP3 a little bit. You might say you're not an auditory learner. Talk to my wife. She told me the exact same thing, and she wasn't an ordinary customer, so it's a little bit more frustrating for me, somebody trying to help them through the process here. But once she kind of realized that, wait, why am I fighting him on this? Let me just do what he says. I don't know if she was just doing it because she was just sick of fighting me on it, or she was like, well, you know what, let me actually see if this does help. Whatever it was, she started listening to the MP3, and you know what? The basic key points that she needed to memorize started becoming very confident with her. And that's what you want to do. You want to build your confidence. But until you get the repetition in of those key points, pretty much no one can hear something once and remember it perfectly. And if you are that person who could hear something once and remember it perfectly, come sit through a 63-hour class of information and remember it all perfectly. It sounds a lot more challenging. It's a lot of information, but the good news is you could focus in and hone in on the most important information, but you got to get the reps in. You don't just go to the gym one time, lift the weight once, and whoa, what a great workout. Let me get out of here. No, you're in there for like 30 minutes to an hour, repetitions again and again and again and again. And that's what you want to do with the MP3 review. Now, we've got some other exam prep tool like the question simulator, like the weekend prep recording, and these are great as well. But the best thing to start out with is our MP3 audio review. And if you want to get just that on its own, we sell that as a standalone item as well. It's actually our least inexpensive exam prep tool. So everyone, I strongly encourage you to get that MP3. It features my voice as well. So I'm a pretty upbeat guy. I try to keep things light and fun. But one of the things I will say that is a little bit different about that MP3 compared to the lightness and funness that we have here on our live streams is, you know, there's a very specific script we actually followed. We actually formulated. That's what took us so long in making the MP3. It wasn't just like, yeah, give me the microphone over here, let me go freestyle 5 hours of nonsense. No. That was a script that was refined and curated, so that way there's specific words and specific phrases that are in there that we can help program in your head when you hear it a certain way, especially when you hear it again and again. When you start to hear my voice in your head, what better way to be able to pass your exam? I mean, literally, if you could pop in a headphone and get my voice in your head, you'd probably say, yeah, that sounds good. But now when I say, oh, no, John, that's too woo-woo for me, I'm not going to get your... Listen to this MP3 enough times, and you'll be able to hear my voice in your head reading you those key points. And when you remember those key points, that's not going to be what the questions are, but the questions are going to be about the key points. And that's where the question simulator comes in, so you can start applying those key points. And then to build your confidence, we've got the weekend prep recording with a nice little workbook to follow along with, so you could zero in on whatever units you need specific help with, especially if you need help with the math. There's tons of math review at the end of the weekend prep recording, so that's a great resource for that as well. But that's all about studying and making its way through the course. And if you have any specific questions about that, 813-333-2676. This number, you could reach one of our advisors. Or if you just want to make sure you don't miss any of these live streams we do, text the word success to that same number, 813-333-2676. But you can also text us really anything at that number. So if you guys have more questions on studying, exam prep, anything like that, either message us or drop that in the chat here. And just welcome in everybody joining in over on Facebook and YouTube as well. So let's talk about the rest of the licensing process. So number one is to enroll in the course. Now, if you have a criminal background or you've ever had a professional license taken away before, you might want to hold off on the course to see if you'll get an application approved. Most of the time, you can get your application approved. There might be some hoops to jump through, including maybe having to visit the Division of Real Estate in Orlando in person to physically show them and tell them why you would be a good application candidate. But if you don't have a criminal background, If you've never had a professional license taken away, there shouldn't be any reason why you can't get a license. The requirements to get your license. Number one, you're 18 years old. 18 plus, number one. Most people are going to check that box. Anyone tuning in under the age of 18 today, sorry, you can take the course, just don't forget the information. So take it right before you turn 18. Otherwise, you're going to forget this stuff here. So appreciate the enthusiasm, though. We love it when we have younger people coming to take our classes. But anyway, so 18 years old, high school diploma or its equivalent. An equivalent could even be like homeschooling or anything that's designed to be an equivalent of a high school diploma. And the third thing is a U.S. Social Security number. Now, if you're a non-citizen of the United States, you could still get a Social Security number. As I mentioned earlier, we've had students from over 40 countries, and they're not just taking the courses because they like me or they like whoever the instructor is that they're signing up for. They're doing it because they want a Florida real estate license and they have opportunities it is that they plan on cashing in on with their Florida real estate license. But one of the requirements for your application is to possess a U.S. Social Security number. They say it's supposedly for child support, nonsense or whatever it is. Sure, I'll buy it, but they do want you to have a U.S. Social Security number, which, again, you can apply for. Again, maybe some hoops it is that you've got to jump through, but if you meet these requirements, enroll in a course. Now, let's say you've got a DUI. We meet a lot of people that have DUIs. It's surprising how many people have DUI in their criminal history. I don't see anybody ever that has been denied a real estate license because of a DUI. If it's not something that's related to things like theft or any sort of larceny or embezzlement or fraud, arson, if you're lighting houses on fire, that's maybe another one they're also concerned with. Those are the things they're most concerned with. We actually have a whole article as well as some contacts we can get you in touch with, including attorneys if necessary, for obtaining your real estate license. Most of the time, again, this shouldn't be something that stops you. So 99% of people will probably be able to get approved for the application. But if you have a criminal background, you want to be sure, reach out to us. We'll get you the information so that way you can do your application, get your fingerprints, get that all approved, get your course taken. Because one of the things I will also say, though, is if you do have a criminal background or you do have any sort of any history that has to be verified. So if you've had other professional licenses, especially if these licenses have been held in other states, those are things that it asks you about disclosing that on your application. And these are things that they do look into, and it does delay the licensing process a little bit. As far as the approval goes, like I said, typically it's under 30 days. It's maximum, according to the law, of 90 days. So they have to get you approved or denied within 90 days here. But usually it's under 30 days. So number one, you want to enroll in the course. And why we recommend that first as well is because we're going to guide you through this. There's a lot of people that have gone to go do their application and maybe they don't even get their fingerprints done, or maybe they get their fingerprints done and they never do the application, or they're not even sure what to do because this is a complicated process. So reach out to us, and one of the best ways to go through this is through the course, because we actually have the links, the resources, all of that right there in the course. We actually even have a nice little $1 course that just covers the licensing steps. So if you want to get detailed whole video-based course just on the licensing step, you can get that right on our website for $1. It's the licensing guide. That one doesn't give you any FREC credit. It's only a little, like maybe 10-minute course, but it's going to cover all those steps in detail and what it is that you've got to do, because you should have something that you're committing to keep you accountable, to keep you on track, to keep you moving forward. We're here to help keep you accountable, but especially whenever it is that you're building your own venture, starting your own business, we want to help you build that accountability within yourself. And so enrolling in the course, making that commitment that I'm doing this, I'm taking the class, that kind of has the domino effect of all the other steps for getting fingerprinted. That's really what's second here, fingerprints. Now, if you're attending one of our in-person classes, We actually bring a mobile fingerprinting vendor right on site. We actually have fingerprinting offices at most of our locations as well. Again, reach out to us and we get you connected with somebody who's able to get those fingerprints taken for you. There are very specific requirements. It can't just simply be a police station or post office or anything like that. There's a specific ORI number, and whoever is submitting this has to be an approved live scan channeler to the FBI, which that doesn't usually include police offices, local police offices. So there's usually a third-party FBI channeler that has to submit your fingerprints. Again, this process can get complicated. We're here to guide you through this, walk you through this. We've got links, we've got contacts, we've got people you get connected with to help get that fingerprinting knocked out for you. Nice and simple, nice and easy. So you're going to do that fingerprinting. Now, here's one of the tips, one of the secrets, one of the tricks that honestly it doesn't make the most sense. I could explain it, but it still won't make the most sense, but here's what it is. 5 days. 5 days is the magic number. You do the fingerprints, and then you wait 5 days, and then you do your application. So let's go back to that 7-day course here. Right up above there. So back on this 7-day course, let's say you get fingerprinted right here on the first day of class. You're waiting then to get your application here in probably by the Friday. And so, again, typically once you get that application in, it's under 30 days. So that leaves you a lot of time to study and prepare. But especially if you're doing the 7-day format, that's where I would encourage you to get the fingerprints done ahead of time. You don't have to necessarily wait till you're enrolled. But again, if you want to get enrolled, if you want to reach out to us, you don't need to be enrolled. If you have any questions about this licensing process, 813-333-2676. We'd love to help point you in the right direction and start your real estate career. But if you do your fingerprinting ahead of time, let's say you just move this up 5 days. Well, now you've moved your whole timeline up 5 days. If you do your fingerprinting the week before, stop into one of our offices and get the fingerprinting done. We've got vendors that we could recommend to you. We've got a vendor that does a mail-in kit. So you do get a fingerprint card at a police station, but then you mail the fingerprint card from the police station or whoever is able to do a fingerprint card to the FBI live scan channeler. They're able to scan in your fingerprints, submit those to the FBI, and then that goes to the DBPR directly. So you never get a report of your background check unless you specifically pay for and order one, which if you do want to find out what's in your background, we've got a contact who can get you an FBI background check on yourself. They'll roll your fingerprints and they'll give you a report of what the FBI actually has on file. I actually did it once. I was like, yeah, I want to find out. I want to see if they've got anything. Turns out they did it. Waste of money. I didn't think they would, but I was like, well, let's just see. Let's see, maybe someone's out there committing fraud against me. I was one of their first customers, so they gave me a deal. I was like, yeah, I want to find out. I want to find out what the FBI knows about me. Apparently nothing, or at least nothing they're telling me in this little background reports. But I didn't expect to find anything in there. So, but if you did want to have, again, one of those reports, we've got a vendor we could get you connected with that could get you that. We've got, again, if you do have things in your criminal background, we've got an attorney we get you connected with, even if it's just for something as simple as just pulling the records that you'll need from other states to be able to submit along with your application. We have resources and connections that could get you through this process as quickly and easily as possible. Take advantage of all the resources it is that we have to offer here. But going back to the steps, remember, don't lose it. So while you're going through this whole process here, even while you're in the class, that's another secret here. If you've got the MP3, listen to the units you're going to cover in class that day before you go to class. Watch how much easier it is that the important information stands out in the lectures. So that would be a great thing to do. Especially because it just hones in on what is the most important key topics. So definitely recommend that. And like I said, your application can take up to 90 days. So I'd recommend you getting your application in as soon as possible because, again, time is going to kill all deals. Make sure you've got at least the MP3 to listen to. That's a really great thing because you could do it daily. You could do it repetitively. You could go to sleep to it. You could listen to it in the morning when you work out, at night. You put it on when you're at work, whenever it is. You could listen to it. Listen to it 24/7 if you can. With any of our exam prep tools, you have 180 days access to use around the clock as much as you need to be able to get through this licensing process. You might say, well, why don't you get a year for the exam prep? Because if you drag this out over a year, it's going to be much more difficult. Again, The longer you take to get your real estate license, the more difficult it will be. So speed up this process as much as you can. And honestly, 180 days is way too long. Because the most it could take to get your application approved is 90 days. So even if the FREC drags their feet as much as they can, why are you taking longer than 90 days? This can be completed very quickly. Again, you could go on our Google reviews, Facebook, wherever. You could see people that do this in 30 days, potentially even less. Going from not having any license, not even knowing what to do, to going through our programs, our guides, our steps, getting their license and launching their real estate career. Now, whether you want to do this full-time, become a top producing agent, or maybe you're just trying to earn referral money on the side, doing it super part-time and just referring out business and collecting a referral fee, you could do that if you have a license, but you have to have an active real estate license. So once you have your application approved, the application has to be approved to schedule your state exam. And one of the amazing benefits right now that didn't used to be a thing before 2020 is you could take the state exam virtually. Before, you'd have to go out to one of these crusty looking little test centers to use these computers that people just sweat out all their nerves onto on a daily basis. I remember one of them. I can't remember if this was my broker exam or my instructor exam. I think it was my instructor exam. And I remember going to the testing center, and it was on a weekend. I think it was a Saturday. And apparently the building that the testing center was in doesn't have air conditioning on a Saturday or Sunday. They only had air conditioning during business hours, but they were still running testing whenever it is that they could get appointments there. And there's only so many options you have, and I didn't know that in advance and whatever. So I was extra sweating on that exam because of the heat in there. So I don't know, maybe you want to go there, maybe not. There's a lot of failure that also comes out of those testing centers as well. Not to say that you're more likely to fail at the testing center, but half the people that take the real estate exam don't pass it. And that's not because they're not because of the testing center, it's just because they didn't study the information. That's what it comes down to. So whether you take it at the testing center or you take it at home, but understand this is the point I'm trying to make here. You don't need to take it at the testing center to pass. Matter of fact, going to the testing center, it's not some magic place. There's a lot of people that leave that testing center disappointed. And if you want to make sure you're not one of those people that leave the testing center disappointed or have to close your laptop disappointed because you're like, oh man, I'll have to try again next time. You got to put the work in to study. Number one thing you do, start listening to that MP3 on a daily basis. If you've already done that and you want to test your knowledge, use our question simulator. If you've tested your knowledge and you just need a little bit extra to really nail down your confidence, that's where our weekend prep recording comes in. That's all part of our Pass First Try bundle. It's on sale today, tsre.us/sale. You can see all of our final day of November sales we've got going on right now. And we give you access to all of our online programs for the FREC requirements for 1 year. So if you're just getting started, if you're just getting ready to go here, you could enroll in the course. You've got plenty of time here to go through this licensing process, to take your time going through the course. And if you want to get and put yourself on the fast track, we've got some really great promos when you actually bundle our exam prep tools with your pre-licensing course. And now you're like, okay, let me get this done in 6 months or less. Let me get this done in 1 month. Yeah, we thought about doing that before. It's like, well, what if we just sell this on a monthly basis? And then they'd say, well, I don't know, our stuff's kind of good. They'd probably only keep it for a month or two, and then most people wouldn't need it anymore. So we try to balance that all in to be able to make sure that, you know, we're giving you something that gives you plenty of time to get these requirements done, but at the same time still gives you some sense of urgency. We're technically not allowed to have just unlimited deadlines. These courses also need to be constantly updated and renewed, so we're always releasing new versions of it as well. So that's why you want to move through this quickly. You don't want to sit there and have to yourself worry about the legal updates and the law changes. If you go through this process in 30 days, you're not worrying about law changes. You're not worrying about law updates. You're not worrying about new editions of the book. And that goes back to the number one rule here. The longer it takes to get your real estate license, the more difficult it will be. You could realize that before, or you could realize it after. I would recommend you realize this before getting into the licensing process, so you make a plan to go through this as quickly as possible. And while you're going through this, again, the number one thing you can control is your retention of this information. Just showing up to class isn't going to get you to pass. We've got great instructors, but simply showing up is not going to provide the level of retention necessary to be able to pass your state exam. So that's why you want to spend time studying. But don't study the wrong information. Don't study the finer details that aren't going to show up on your exam. Don't study the things that are more exciting about the real world that are not important for the exam. Don't study by just reading wrong answers on practice questions, because guess what you're going to remember when all you do is read wrong answers all day. And you might be saying, well, I'm just paying attention to the right answers. Well, remember this, there's 3 times as many wrong answers. And you looking at them, you thinking about them when you're doing these practice questions. And look, we've got the question simulator. It's a great tool. But again, those details, those wrong answers, that's why with our question simulator, as soon as you pick an answer, it pops up and usually covers everything right up. It's like, hey, all right, well, look at this. Because it gives you the explanation with the key point that you need to remember. And if you need to drill back into the key points for any one particular unit, you could do that with the MP3. And if you need any guidance or help with this information, you could always reach out to us. But we actually created another course that we include in our Pass First Try bundle. And there's actually even some promos where this has been included with our pre-licensing courses before, so you might already have this. It's called The Secrets of the Exam. And The Secrets of the Exam, it's just a short couple-hour course. It's all about test strategy. It's about test strategy as it specifically relates to this real estate license exam. When it comes down to the content, when it comes down to the way the questions are structured, when it comes down to approaching studying. There's a lot of the stuff we've talked about today on this episode that's in that Secrets of the Exam course. So if you have the Secrets of the Exam course, that's a really great thing to do, number one, when you first start getting into this year and you want to say, okay, well, how do I study? What do I do? But number two, I would also take a second look at that Secrets of the Exam course right before you go in to take your exam, to remind yourself of those basic little principles and tips and tricks that we've got in there that could give you a slight edge on the exam. I can almost guarantee you the Secrets of the Exam alone is not going to get you to pass the exam. Maybe it does, because you'll have the information from the course, and if you study that information, you know those tips and tricks from the Secrets of the Exam, you can pass the state exam. We have tons of people that do pass the state exam without the additional exam prep. And that's why we make it optional. We don't build that into the price of the pre-licensing. We make it optional, and we leave that up to you. But most people are going to need to study. Pretty much everyone is going to need to study one way or the other. And if you want to take time out of this, if you want to cut time out of it so that way you're not worrying about what to study, how to study, when to study, you could let us guide you through that with the Pass First Try exam prep tools. So look, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we'll be back to answer any final questions you have. Remember, we've got that sale going on at TampaSchoolOfRealEstate.com. That's good until midnight. There's a promo code. You go to tsre.us/save. You'll be able to see all the deals that we've got. This is the last day of November today. This is the last day to get the November pricing on all of the deals it is that we've got running right now. So stick with us. We'll be back after this quick commercial break. Are you studying for your Florida real estate exam? If you are, you need to check out our Pass First Try strategy. You're going to love this. It's 4 steps that we break down the process to study for your Florida real estate exam. So you're set up to pass your Florida real estate exam, because that's what you're studying for, right? To pass your exam. It's 4 steps. Number 1, you learn the information. You've got to learn this to be able to pass the exam, but it doesn't stop at learning. Step 2, you've got to reinforce the basic, simple, key concepts. As you learn this information, keep reviewing the simple things. You don't need to know everything, but you got to review these basic key concepts. Step 3, you've got to test your knowledge. The exam's going to test your knowledge, so if you don't test your knowledge in advance, you won't find out if you know what you think you know until you take the exam. And then step 4 is be confident and prepared, because even if you know this material, you need to be confident that you know the material. Check out the full strategy at PassFirstTry.com. That's PassFirstTry.com. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. My name is John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're just about to wrap up today's show. We're just jumping over for any final questions anyone has live on the chats online. I think we've got most of everything answered today when it comes to the application timelines, the fingerprinting timelines. Feel free to review and revisit this as much as possible, but if you'd prefer a more condensed version of really a refined, basically a mini course of how to get your real estate license, we have that available for just $1. And this is really kind of more of a demo of who we are, what it is. So if you want to spend that dollar, you'll get a whole account in our online learning system. And that's the same system you'll be able to log in to take any of your instructor-led courses, your exam prep, and so on and so forth. So a really great way to kind of try this out and get some sort of commitment for those next steps to be able to complete the licensing process and start your real estate career. But if you're ready to actually enroll in a course, we've got all the schedules at tampaschoolrealestate.com, or you could also do an on-demand course, either with a video-based instructor, which features yours truly, or we also have a text-based course. So if you don't want to just sit there and watch videos of me and kind of go along in the book and follow along, it's a pretty interactive, even though it's on demand. We actually have one that's just completely text-based. So if you don't want to hear things, if you don't want to see things, if you want to just be able to read it, sneakily do it on your phone while you're at work, however it is you get it done, we won't judge you here. But if you have any questions about which format would fit best for you, which option is going to be the best option, what deals we've got running currently, again, that phone number is 813-333-2676. And if you text the word success to that phone number, it's actually going to get you subscribed for our Success Center updates. So that way, whenever it is we have content to help you grow your real estate business, to advance your real estate career, we'll send you a text and say, hey, check this out. We'll be back this Friday for State of Real Estate, 12 noon, the next steps after earning your real estate license. So when it comes to your renewal courses, getting joined with a broker, making your first deal, the Association of Realtors, potentially doing referrals, we'll be talking all about that and more this Friday. Bring your questions. If you have questions in the meantime, 813-333-2676. It's about all the time we've got for today. I want to thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys Friday at 12 noon. Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline, I don't need to do post-licensing yet, but look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing. Hey, so if you're thinking about starting a real estate career, it could feel a little overwhelming sometimes. Look, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here to help. If you haven't already, check out our Success Center, tampaschool.com/success, or if you don't even know where to begin, give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got advisors standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way it is that we can. Our phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. Give us a call. We're the Tampa School of Real Estate.
Do you want a career that allows you to be in control? With a career in real estate, you'll get to call the shots. Whether you're looking at starting part-time or want to become the next top agent, a career in real estate makes it possible. Find out what it takes at tampaschool.com. Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Are you thinking about a career in real estate? Hey, I'm John Chrisman with the Tampa School of Real Estate, and we've helped thousands of people just like you obtain their real estate license. If you're thinking about a career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have and assist you in any way they can. Hey, if you're enjoying the show today, which I'm sure you are, be sure to hit like, subscribe, post your comments, share with your friends and family. Thank you guys so much for watching.